All right. So, welcome, Cynthia and Mariana. I'd like to introduce you to the podcast and a little bit backstory on both of y'all. So, Cynthia, I knew you because you told me that I couldn't dance. At one point. So I had just come out of the gym at UT, and there was an org event happening where all the orgs were showing off their skills, and Cynthia was a part of the Texas Latin Dance org where Salsa and Bachata is taught. She is one of the lead instructors there, and I remember I was like, oh, I know how to dance. And Cynthia was like, oh yeah, show me. So I was like showing her. I was like, oh yeah, I'm hitting all these crazy moves. She doesn't know. I went to like 10,000 quinceañeras, and then she was like, very good, but like you're doing it all wrong. And I was like, oh goodness. So we'll delve into that story a little bit deeper, but. And right next to me is Mariana, who is a ballroom dancer who also does salsa and bachata with me sometimes, but has recently won was it a tournament? Or what would you consider it?
It was a competition in Austin, in UT.
Yeah. Okay. And then you went to an MIT one as well.
Yes.
And didn't you take the cake on that one as well?
Well, not very much. Okay. That was intense.
Okay, so what was the junior thing that you won? I remember
The junior thing?
Yes, I believe you guys won some accolade recently. You and your dance partner.
Yes. We won in Austin Open. We danced in Open and we won first place in Latin.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that is super cool. So let me think. Oh yeah. So let's go into a little bit more about dance and the different aspects. You guys are both familiar with different styles of dancing. You have a boatload in your repertoire. You also do. 'Cause Mariana, do you teach at all?
Sometimes, not very much.
Okay.
I want to, but...
So sometimes we get to see Mariana in her ballroom. Hold on. We're trying to mess around with the mics. So Mariana's in ballroom. I know that she's a big competitor. I've seen her dancing everything from cha-cha to waltz to salsa to bachata, merengue. What else? There's like a boatload more.
Yeah, there's so many. There's standard and Latin dances, so there's also waltz, foxtrot, basically all the ballroom dances and then the social dances.
Two-stepping as well.
Two-stepping, yeah.
Yeah. And Cynthia, she focuses a little bit more on Latin dances, but I've seen her like sometimes in these circles. And what are some of the dances that you know how to dance?
I dance salsa, bachata, cumbia, merengue, zouk, and I've been getting more into West Coast lately. I really enjoy it. It's fun.
West Coast does look pretty fun. I feel like it's like a little gem that I've been missing out on.
Yeah, honestly, it is really fun. I was at a West Coast social the other day, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you know what I think I might do? I might be the one to shift. If I'll shift my microphone to Mariana.
Okay. You want to catch it?
Sorry?
The sound?
Yeah, I don't catch it, but
okay.
Like I'm more comfortable with me doing it.
Okay.
Because I've already messed around with these mics for a bit.
I forget. Sorry.
Yeah. So we have like a little bit of a 3-person episode with only 2 mics, and this might not seem like a lot, but dude, I was struggling to even make these mics work for the last podcast. So I'm going to try my best to make the audio as concise and clear. And I guess we'll have only one person speaking at a time. So I guess, Cynthia, we could point it a little bit more towards you. And every single time Mariana talks, I'll talk really quick and then I'll just go.
All right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So, yeah, I kind of want to get a little bit more into like dance and why y'all got into it. So first, I guess we could go with Cynthia and then Mariana could take it over.
All right.
Just like...
Why'd you get started?
Oh, why did I get started? Okay, so I guess from the beginning, I have always been in like music. So I was like in choir in middle school, as a lot of people are. But then I was in marching band from middle school through high school and concert band, and also two jazz bands. And so I was really into music, and I also really liked like moving my body to the music, but I never really knew how to move my body correctly. And so going into college, I really wanted to find some type of dance class so that I could learn. And so I was looking for like hip hop, and I was also somewhat looking into Latin. And then near the same time, I was also watching videos of bachata on YouTube, and they just came across my feed randomly. So I started watching them, and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so cool. I'll never be able to dance like this. And then I came onto campus. It was like the first week probably of my freshman year, and they had all these orgs tabling on Speedway, like the main walkway on campus. And I was just walking, and then somebody yelled out, "Come learn salsa, bachata, cumbia, merengue." And I was like, yes, sign me up. And so I signed up. It was still during COVID, and so we were hybrid. But they had started doing like in-person classes again on Thursdays. This was Texas Latin Dance, by the way, the org that I'm now running. And so like every Thursday, it would be like my one social interaction per week, like to go out to these Thursday classes and like socialize with people. And
Was this because it was during COVID?
yeah, I was like just cooped up in my apartment for like the rest of the week, just like doing online classes. And then like I would go out on Thursdays to like learn how to dance. And it was, yeah, that was how I got started, and I got really into it. And if you see those videos of me back then, like they were so bad, and it's really funny to like recall where I was. Yeah.
That's relatable. Yeah. Well, for me, I had always loved dancing. I started dancing when I was like 5 years old. I started dancing tap. That's what like my specialty was, and I danced it since like until high school. So that was my main thing, like tap dancing. I joined jazz when I was like 12, and then ballet in high school because they require you to dance both tap, jazz, and ballet in the studio that I was for you to be at the highest level. So I joined ballet in high school. And I had always just loved music, like just like Cynthia. I would sometimes when I was little, I would go and perform for my parents, and like we would do choreographies, and I would just like dance in my room. So yeah. And then in college, I've always also liked to just try a lot of new things. So when they gave me, I don't remember exactly how I found out about Free Week in Ballroom, but I found out about it, and I went to the first week where like they just teach you the basics of all the ballroom dances. And I thought it was really fun and really cool that you could do dancing in a way that it's like, I guess, social, like with someone else. So I just stuck with it like, through all of college, and I got really, really involved in it. And now I really love that. Now it's a whole community. Like, and after college, even if you graduate and like it might be hard to make friends in college, you still always have that dance community anywhere you go. So yeah.
Okay. So I got a brilliant idea for the mic setting scenario. I'm sorry to bug you all about this, but how about like every single time Cynthia's talking, I'll pass it to you, and then every single time I'm talking, if you want to talk, like you guys could just pivot it. So
Yeah.
you just grab it by like
If you
the mic.
want it, just take it.
Yeah. And I think that'd be easy. That way we don't have to like worry about like who's talking at given moments. Because I guess like three people can't talk at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's super cool. I really feel like I came to like dancing a lot. Growing up, I was like really bad with it because I grew up in like Hispanic culture or Mexican culture on the border town where cumbias were a big thing. But dude, I swear I've been doing them wrong my entire life, and no one's corrected me. But it's also because no one knew how to correct me, or maybe I was like too afraid to ask. But I remember whenever I came to college, I saw like salsa and bachata being like a big thing, and I also started dating someone who was like Puerto Rican, and I remember they were like super big into it. So I remember I wanted to like impress them and be like a little bit more fluid. I've taken hip hop classes. Like I took a hip hop class at the University of Texas, and I feel like that was cool. But it was like whenever I really got into Latin dance that I really feel like I started gaining like a fun hobby for it, or like I started becoming more of a hobbyist and started becoming like more dedicated to it. And it was always like kind of fun because like there's like these different social dynamics and scenarios that are a little bit uncomfortable whenever you're first getting into it. I mean, like, I remember whenever I was like doing bachata and I was like, can I grab here? Like, this is so weird. And like,
Yeah.
like I felt weird even asking. And then I felt like, I was like, I don't want to creep like my follow out. Like, this is like new territory for me. And like I remember I felt like super awkward, but like I remember it was you and another friend, Aubrey, that were like talking about like the different signals within like communication and like how things are suggestion, not you need to do this.
Yeah.
And I started like taking in like different principles and philosophies from y'all, and it kind of helped me get like a little bit more adjusted. And yeah, I just want to ask y'all like how do y'all as follows, or Mariana, you like to lead sometimes.
I also
Oh yeah,
Like
Cynthia does like to lead as well. I don't know, Mariana asked me more. So like
Oh.
she's like all right, now me. So I'm like okay. You take it. But how do y'all feel with like more novice dancers whenever y'all are in these partner dances? How do y'all go about it?
Oh, we knew you were gonna ask that. Yeah, we talked about this before. And I think I don't mind dancing with novice dancers. Everybody was a beginner, and I wanted to dance with people who had more experience than I did. But I think the main thing is that we do want it to be at least on time. Like, if it's the basic or anything that we're trying to do, if it's not to the music, it doesn't feel like you're dancing. So, yeah, that's...
Yeah, I mean, just starting out, everybody is like on a bunch of different levels. Like, a lot of people have different things that they struggle with whenever they're just starting. Like, some people struggle with doing certain body movements, like isolating your bodies in certain ways. Some people are just not connected to the music, like, not connected to the timing. I think for me, it's a little different, like socially versus being an instructor. So like socially, yeah, a big thing is like timing, like being along with the music. Even if you're doing everything wrong, if you're dancing with the music, you're dancing, you know. But as an instructor, in that type of setting, or if I'm ever dancing with people that I have instructed, I try to have like more patience with them and kind of understand where they're like starting off from, and also understanding that if I'm following and they're leading, they're probably like really nervous as like a beginner lead. So yeah, I try to also make sure that they feel comfortable. I try to smile and I try to give them any tips if they like ask for it, or yeah.
Yeah. So I guess since you already talked about this, I guess something we'll talk about are like the different social dynamics like within dancing, like what is acceptable, what's not. If any of the conversation gets like a little too on the edge for y'all, I'll let y'all like kind of be like, dodge it. Just give me a little sign.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's like super cool. It is really tricky whenever you're first getting into it. I remember, like I said, I had like a little bit of a cumbia background, but it was pretty bad. I thought I knew how to dance bachata because like my uncle, who also doesn't know bachata, was teaching me, and he was dancing better than like all the people in my border town. But like, dude, it was still kind of bad. I still love him though. If he sees this,
No, I hate my uncle. He sucks at bachata.
yeah. No, it's because we would always like joke about like who's the best dancer, and like he was always like, dude, you as a little kid were stiff, and like now I'm like, oh, I'm better than you, dude. You don't even know. What do you know about this sensual movement? and we'll just kind of like mess around with each other. But it's been kind of cool because it's I feel like one of my instructors also dances bachata, but he does jujitsu. So he calls it his yin and yang, and I totally get that concept because it's like a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more graceful. You learn how to play with other people's like movements. You start understanding. But it's no longer like forcing it. It's more so suggesting it. You look like you have something to say.
No, that's really interesting because it is very. There are so many crossovers, but it's also in a way like polar opposites, like dance and jiu-jitsu. Like in jiu-jitsu,
dance and fighting in general.
Dance and fighting, because like one is supposed to be aggressive and the other is like you're making like suggestions and like
it's supposed to look elegant,
graceful,
yeah,
and not aggressive. If it looks aggressive, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I feel like that's been a lot of the scenarios. A lot of like what I've seen is that through dancing, I kind of find like this like little flow state where I'll kind of hit moves, but then every now and then, whenever I'm dealing with like experienced dancers, I'll be like, oh no,
You get in your head.
They'll make me nervous. And like it's kind of intimidating. I remember I did not want to social dance with you for a while because I would go and there was like all these dudes that were really good. For some reason, they're all 40. And for some reason, they're all balding too. So like my ongoing joke to feel, oh snap, I'm not in frame. So my ongoing joke to feel a little bit more comfortable with like my inability, and like whenever I would see like a follow's like not as good, or like she notes that like, oh, he's like still a beginner, he's like still not good, something I do to like ease myself and ease the scenario or the situation of us dancing for an entire 3-minute song would be I'm like, oh, I'm just a beginner, but don't worry, I'm practicing and I'm getting a lot better. I'm learning a new move every time I come out, and I'm gonna get so good that like my hairline starts receding because all the really good guys for some reason, or all the good follows have like great leads.
All the good, like my hair's like
all the great leads for some reason have receding hairlines or are bald. So it's just kind of funny
where they receive their like dance energy. Like,
yeah. Someone said it's because of like the crazy spins that they hit. It just like pushes the hairline back. Yeah, but I don't know. What are like scenarios that y'all have found to be a little bit more like notable? Like what are like in these social dancing scenarios, like what has made someone stand out or something stand out where you're like, oh, I still like that experience and I still think about it every now and then when I think about like my overall dance journey.
Okay, so are you asking like things that make like a dance really memorable?
Let's do both. Let's do a dance very memorable and the event overall. Like what makes an event pop out.
Okay. Well, we can start with what makes like a dance memorable. I feel like for me, it doesn't matter so much if the person is like hitting these crazy moves or stuff. I've danced with people that like are like super high level, but I don't really like the dance that much because they're always like looking elsewhere, and they're like not looking at me. They're almost like trying to find like the next person to dance with.
Yeah.
Almost.
Connection.
Like connection, like whenever we're dancing, like we're in this we're dancing together. And it doesn't have to be good, but I really like for me, dance is like a way to socialize. And so like I could not know your name, we could not be speaking the same language, but we could be like playing with this music together and having like a good time. And like we could just be, I also really like it when they like play with the music, or like if they already know the song, that's really nice. But yeah, if they're just having a good time and they're actually like connecting with me and like actually acknowledging my presence, that really makes a dance more enjoyable for me than like crazy moves.
Yeah, I agree. You touched a little bit on it. I think musicality is something that really makes, for me, a dance very memorable. When they just are hitting like little things and we're like kind of on the same wavelength, hitting the same things at the same time, and we're like connecting.
When
Like
the lead knows the song.
when they know the song, exactly. When we both know it, or like we start singing, like you just like, you're having fun with it and you like get on a flow state and you're just like, it's like a language. You're just, communicating through dance.
Yeah. I also I've been trying to mess around with that, like playing with like beats a little bit more, like whenever like a song hits at like the peak, like in stats, in like statistics, it's like the bell curve. When it hits like that top of the mountain, and then it starts like calming down. I like to hit like some crazy moves at that exact moment, but I've also been like learning to be a little bit more comfortable in not performing as much, but getting like the basics down a little bit more. So I remember Cynthia and I practiced for a while, and I feel like Cynthia was kind of helping me like just learn a lot of like my beginning dance moves, and she was like teaching me like very basic things like frame, how to have proper steps, how to do this, how to do that. And I remember I was like, whenever I was like doing bachata, I was like hip 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 hip. There's like an ongoing joke. It's like un dos tres paquita on like Instagram, and if you're like on salsa Instagram for some reason. but I remember I was one day dancing, and she was like, excuse me. She was like, "Oh, Gabe, by the way, you move your hips too much." And I was like, "Oh, dude, I have the opposite effect of like most guys. Like most guys are like stiff. They don't know how to like move." But I was like, "Oh, I'm too loosey-goosey." So I was like thinking about that, and I was like, "Okay." So then I started like paying attention to like more like body isolations and like the way I actually like pivot my foot. And I still like notice it. I still have a lot of work to do within this area, but it's like a critical feature that I never thought about in general. And it was something that you pointed out and just like pointed to in a productive way that helped me like grow in it. What are some more of the ways that you think that people become better dancers overall? We're gonna give it to the professional first.
Okay.
Oh.
So
I was talking about Mariana.
okay, go.
I'm just messing with y'all.
Do you have? Okay, okay. So there's this teacher that we both like, Brenda Liu. She's from Singapore. And shout out Brenda. We love you. She has this concept that is really fundamental, that you are only as good as your basic technique. And so a lot of the time, whenever people are just starting off dancing, they really want to learn all these moves. They want to be flashy. They want to impress a girl or a guy or whatever. But it catches up to you later on whenever you struggle to like flow or to like look a certain way, to look like you're dancing salsa, you're dancing bachata. whenever you are lacking in like a very basic fundamental level. So whenever we were practicing, I was helping you drill like your basic to make it look like a good bachata basic. I was helping you drill like the frame, the connection, how to like square your body, how to like move your follow. And so I feel like that's like number one for like improving your dance overall.
I agree. I think your basic is definitely super important. You asked like what else could be, and I think a huge thing is confidence, or at least looking confident. I struggle a lot with that. I always look down, and when I look at my dancing, it looks like I'm not sure what I'm doing because I'm staring at the floor, and it looks like I'm not confident dancing. So if like you just need to like really like, I think looking up is a big thing that a lot of people just like are staring at their feet. That's just, I guess I'm just speaking for myself. Like that's something I really struggle with, like looking down. And posture is also huge. I think it all ties down to also like what Cynthia said, like the basics. Yeah.
So, all right. So now going into like a little bit more of the touchy subjects of like social dance. It can be very intimate, and like you see, I remember me and Cynthia were like at this friend's party, and they were like joking about like one of the dancers, because we were watching a YouTube video with dancers. They were joking about one of the dancers having like a orgasm, like with like the
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
with their dancing partners, and like you could just like see it in their face. So I thought that was like hilarious because like everyone was just like joking about it. But I mean, there is like certain scenarios that make it a little bit uncomfortable at times, like whether that be like eye contact or like the way that you're going about it. So first I want to ask, how much eye contact is too much? Is there ever enough? Is this like depending on the person, depending on if you're in a relationship, depending on like what would y'all, if y'all had to like give like a doctor's prescription for like eye contact, what would y'all say?
I'll let you take this one first.
Okay. I would say 60%. Yes. Because sometimes I do feel a little bit uncomfortable when it's all the time just like they're just staring at you. And yeah, it can get a little bit too much.
Yeah.
We're thinking of the same.
Yes.
So I think it's about preference. I think some people definitely really love having a lot of intense eye contact. It definitely makes...
I think I know the person that you guys are talking
Yeah,
about.
I think you do. And I think the eye contact really helps with the like connection of the dance. But for me, I think this is fine to say by now, but I'm in a relationship. And so, whereas before, I would lean more into, like, having that, like, intense, like, eye contact connection as a way to connect more with the dance and the dancer. Now, I try to limit it to, like, 60% to keep it more, like, strictly, like, this is about dance and... like, yes, connecting enough so that we have a good dance, but not so much that we're, like, flirting with our eyes or something, you know? Because it can be kind of flirty, and so it depends on what you're there for, I guess.
No, I agree. I definitely do think that it depends on the person. I lean more towards, I said 60%, but I am definitely guilty of like looking away or just kind of like you know, wandering around.
So, what are like some of the telltale signs that like you should do a little bit less or a little bit more?
I think if the follower is looking away and you're still staring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you just talking about eye contact or like other things?
Yeah, let's do eye contact and then we'll go.
Yeah, I feel like you can kind of gauge where the follow is at and how much they want to connect with you to kind of like see, does this person really want to like have this like intense connection right now, or do they just want to like keep a little more chill? So that's where I'm at with eye contact.
Yeah, and I feel like it's always kind of tricky to distinguish. Like me, dude, I am guilty of never looking at my follow.
Look at your follow.
Dude, I get scared.
That's who you're dancing with. You have to look at her.
Sometimes they look at me and I'm like, they're being lustful with their eyes. But I'll kind of like joke about it with like some friends at times. But like it is like a little nerve wracking, and like I'd rather have this issue that I'm not looking enough as to looking too much. Yeah, because oh my goodness, I have like a lot of friends that are just like follows, and like I remember something she told me. She's like, be careful, because if you dance wrong with someone, she's like, even if you're just messing with them, because I like to joke around a lot, and sometimes it doesn't rub off in the right way to certain people. She's like, just be careful, because like follows will talk and they'll be like, oh, don't dance with this person, they're weird. so like every now and then I kind of stick to like the area of like caution, but like every now and then whenever it's like people I've been dancing with for a while, I'll like test out this or like new moves or like different levels of like comfortability. But it does get kind of like I do get nervous. And that's weird, because I feel like I'm not a nervous person in general. But like whenever I'm like in these scenarios that feel very intimate and very close, and like I'm touching this person, and I'm like trying like not to look at their eyes like too much to the point where like they look away. I don't know. There's like a lot of like give and take. So I feel like a little scared at times to do this, which is kind of funny. Like I just don't want to be disrespectful.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I used to, because I also used to have the problem of looking away and not giving enough eye contact. So I used to challenge myself to hold the eye contact as much as I could. I didn't always succeed, but I did get better at being more comfortable in these uncomfortable scenarios and keeping eye contact and smiling. And like in general, eye contact does make the dance better because it makes the connection better. But it is also about preference. I would say just not leaning towards the extreme of like staring at your follow or completely looking away. Somewhere in the middle, you can kind of decide for yourself.
I'm taking notes because I'm so guilty of just
looking away.
Yes.
Yeah, like one of the things that I've noticed is I started getting into like the salsa algorithm on like Instagram and TikTok. So like I'll see like a bunch of memes of like the different things about the culture, and it's like here are the different types of like bad leads that there are, and like there's like one that's like too intense, and then there's like another one just like staring at like boobs, and then there's like another one that's like grabbing you and like being like super frisky and aggressive, and then there's like the loosey goosey one who's like too like you can't tell what they're trying to do.
When you say salsa algorithm, is this just salsa or also bachata?
Salsa and bachata.
Okay.
I'm in like dance algorithm.
Okay.
So like hip hop, salsa, bachata. I haven't got any ballroom content yet. I'm pretty sure you get it though.
I do get it. My Instagram is just filled with all the ballroom salsa bachata.
Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah, I think partner dancing is it could feel like kind of intimate, but there is like this like certain like level of intimacy that is needed for like dancing to look good and to feel good. And I feel like that's always very iffy. Like, I don't know. I personally had feelings and scenarios where I felt guilty. Like if my partner dances and I'm like, oh, dude, that guy's fucking dancing better than me. I'm like, oh, I'm like feeling some type of way about this. Is there any way that y'all have, or like any philosophy that y'all have kind of adopted towards like being better at that, or towards like just feeling a little bit more comfortable with like in your like relational lives or like in your relationships while having the hobby of dancing?
Honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out, and I really am trying to figure that out. Um, I think having like not connecting so deeply with the person is has been like my first step of kind of like establishing a boundary. Right now it's like more of a mental thing, and whenever a guy, especially a guy that I'm like that I haven't been dancing with a while, because some people have established like uh relationships with that this is like this is just pure dance, and like we connect this way because we flow best this way. Like in the past I've had situations where I no longer, like after a certain amount of time in a social, I'm either tired or I'm stressed and I'm no longer connecting with people. I'm like in my head, I'm like not in the dance. And so like connection really like makes or breaks a dance. In terms of like establishing boundaries, probably in the future I will not be doing so much like close embrace central stuff. I've already established with like some Zouk partners not to do close embrace, because with Zouk it's like really close embrace. With bachata there's more like physical disconnect, and so I'm a little bit more okay with that. But like I said, I'm still like figuring out where that boundary lies. For now it's more of like a mental thing where I'm like not allowing myself to like have those like really deep connections like I used to do with people.
Yeah, for me, when I go salsa and bachata dancing, to me it always feels like purely we're trying to connect in the dancing. And especially like there's not, when we go salsa and bachata dancing, a lot of the guys are like 30-year-olds. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like, you know, make other types of, or and they also thankfully don't make any other types of advances most of the times, in terms of like wanting a relationship or wanting to make it more than dancing. It does concern me that like sometimes they might be thinking of, you know, their intentions might be different. But I guess in my head I just try to make it just about dancing. And in terms of boundaries for relationships, I think that really does depend on your relationship with someone else, on how comfortable you are with, or they are with you dancing with other people. That does depend, and I haven't had that problem specifically.
Yeah, I think it's always like a little tricky to like distinguish this scenario. Like I feel I feel like there's only been like me social dancing a few times whenever I'm like in a relationship, but whenever I'm single, I'm like, oh, I gotta do whatever I want. But it is always like a little bit tricky to try to get in these scenarios or do these scenarios with like people that I don't know, or like I don't have these established relationships. So I liked how you talked about that. Like if you're in the community for a while, there are like these relationships and these people that you meet on like a more consistent basis, and you see them on a more consistent basis, and like sometimes like like I remember whenever I was first getting started, I was like, oh my goodness, Cynthia's doing like these crazy moves with this person. But it's also like something I didn't think about at that time was, oh, she's probably known him for like a year or two, or like she's probably known him for way longer than I've known her for. And that was like always something that I'm like, dude, how are like some people so comfortable with one another? And like I never thought about like the relationship aspect of it, but that makes sense to me now. I think as like you grow and as like you come to progress within this field, you're taking a lot of the same classes, going to like a lot of the same socials. It's like a very tight knit community, but it's everywhere. And I think that's like the cool part about it. Yeah, I honestly have started becoming more appreciative of like dance in general and the different ways that people go through it. And there is like weird scenarios that do arise like through this. Is there just like any bullet point list that y'all could quickly create for someone that's just getting into it? Like you're like, do this, do this, do this, don't this, this, this. Do's and don'ts.
Okay.
Try to go 5 for 5. Like 5 do's, 5 don'ts.
Okay. And this is for leads or follows or both?
Do both.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's go with leads first.
Okay.
And let's do leads to do's and don'ts and follows do's and don'ts.
Oh, this is fun. Okay.
I guess we could like take turns and like feed off it because I don't necessarily have like a 5 list right now.
Okay, I can go one. You can go one.
Don't get too caught up with a number. Just it's like a number to shoot for.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So, I guess do would be to focus more on basic technique and less on flashy moves.
Do is connection. Make sure you are connecting both with like eye contact and in like your movements. Like make sure you're well connected to your follow.
Like that, like frame.
Frame, yeah.
Do would be to be cognizant and sensitive to the cues that your follow is making towards you, whether or not they're comfortable with being in certain dance positions or not.
Yeah. Trying to think. Do smile.
Yeah, do
Enjoy
smile.
yourself.
Do listen to the type of music that you're trying to dance to, like even when you're not dancing to it, because when you learn the songs, so then you'll start to build a sense of like recognition with the song and the musicality and the points, and also to recognize the rhythm, recognize when something is salsa versus bachata versus cumbia versus merengue, etc. And just to enjoy it more, because I feel like if you love the music, you'll also love dancing to the music.
I agree. Yeah.
Are we still doing do's, or do you guys want to switch to don'ts for leads?
Yeah, we can switch to don'ts. I think, yeah,
Because
we
like
hit.
ran out.
Yeah.
I think they're all very related too. So don't make your follow uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it ties into the do's though. Like, make sure that you're comfortable. Your follow's comfortable with everything you do. Don't force anything. Like, be aggressive into whatever. It's always a suggestion, not, you're not trying to make your follow do something.
Yeah, I was gonna piggyback off of that. Like, it's all a suggestion, and if the follow doesn't receive the suggestion and carry out the move, it's okay. Just make another suggestion. I guess this kind of goes back into the do's, but like, do be like firm, not just frame, but like firmly connected, because I feel like a lot of leads hover, like, and like this, like hovering, it doesn't allow you to really connect and lead the moves.
So you're saying to connect at the lat a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, it's like the shoulder blade.
So this is when
underneath
you're in
it.
standard position, right?
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, there are a couple of positions. There is
Open.
open position where it's like you're just holding hands. There's standard where one's holding a hand and the other one's holding like their lat. And there's closed position where both are around their lats. And this is in bachata, sometimes applicable to salsa, and I'm pretty sure in ballroom all the time. And this is like something you could carry for partner dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, where were we?
We're back on dance. Yeah, yeah.
I'd say don't make faces if your follow messes up, or tell them like, oh, this was supposed to be this.
Like correct them on the spot.
Yes.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah. I think that's a big one.
I am very guilty of this.
Like you were supposed to do this.
No, but like I'll it's typically with like new follows and like so something that you guys were saying was suggestions, how there's supposed to be suggestions and not forceful. I agree in the not forceful part, but like sometimes whenever I'm dealing with like a newer follow, I'm like you want to keep trying it, and I'm like, you want to get it, and then I'll keep doing the suggestion over and over again until they pick it up and register it. So that's like the little caveat that I just wanted to mention, but yeah, I've been agreeing with like everything y'all have been saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes follows are like they want to, and I guess you can get the cue that they are trying to learn, and they're like, oh, how? But a lot of the times it's like they're like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, it's just it depends.
If you establish that you're like, hey, I want to learn this, it was supposed to be like this, you want to keep trying, yeah, that's cool. I actually want leads to be comfortable enough to like retry moves if they like tried it and I didn't get it, because like sometimes I don't get it. What I don't like is like whenever a lead is kind of rude about it, or like kind of like accusing you, like, oh, you should have done it like this, yada yada yada. I don't know. It's about the attitude, I guess.
Yeah. Or sometimes they like laugh. They're like, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I did not get it.
Don't be afraid to go social dancing even as a new lead. I know it's scary, but it's genuinely how you learn and practice your moves. Or if you don't feel comfortable going social dancing, practice with a partner, but like, you have to get the reps in. Like you can't just go to class and then like, yeah, if you do want to get better, you have to get the reps in with practice. So don't be afraid to like put yourself out there. Eventually you're gonna have to put yourself out there.
I'd say avoid long conversations when dancing, because a lot of the times I cannot hear anything and I get distracted and I'm just like not fully on the conversation.
Yeah. Don't assume that your follow is into you based on whatever transpired in the dance.
Oops.
That's a good
Just
one.
kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. Yeah. Yeah. I guess, yeah, there are like these different scenarios. I have like a habit of like talking with people, but yeah, I quickly picked up that the music's loud. People can't hear me most of the time. So if my joke's funny, it's got to be under 10 seconds.
Yeah. Keep it brief.
It also depends on. Oh, sorry.
It's not okay.
It depends on the scenario too. Sometimes it's like the TLD socials where we're at the tower and we're just messing around, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I think like the entire like dance culture is very interesting. It's something that I've been learning to become a little bit more accustomed to, and it's a culture that I haven't really understood a little bit deeper. So I'm really excited to have had y'all on, and I want to thank y'all. Is there any other things that y'all want to talk about, or anything that you want to tell the viewer?
try social dancing.
Yeah. Also, if you're a follow, try leading, and if you're a lead, try following.
No. Just kidding.
You've started following more too. I'd say switching roles helps you immensely in whatever your main role is or whatever your main goal is.
It also sorry.
No, you.
It also helps you understand what the other wants from you a lot better.
We didn't talk about follows, do's, and don'ts.
Oh, do those.
Oh yeah.
This is a little unstructured already, dude. Just have it be free flow.
Let me finish my thing about leading and following. I've noticed that like my leading is better because I've followed, and my following is better because I've led. And so you understand more of what the expectations are for the other role. So then it also helps you understand where the other person is coming from. If you're a follow and you've only followed, like, you might be like, why is this lead like messing up so much, or why do they look so nervous? When you lead, you will understand how nerve-wracking it is to lead and have a follow like not look at you and look disinterested the whole time, and how disheartening that can be. So it helps you improve your compassion.
I'm really glad my pain is understood now. Dude, it sucked being like a bad dancer. Like I would have like faces of disinterest, like not even goodbyes. They just leave. Like I think I've had like 2 of those scenarios, and I'm like, oh. But like every now and then, like I'll catch like straight disses sometimes, and it was kind of funny because like, damn dude, I didn't know some people were like this confident to like just be like, you suck. they never said that like flat out, but like in maybe like nicer words, they were like, oh, I thought you were gonna break my arm, and I was like, oh, that's mean. I was like, why would you tell me this?
Oh wow.
I had someone tell me that before I started dancing with them, not after.
That's even worse.
Yeah. That one, I was like, oh, that one stung. I was kind of upset, but I was like, whatever. You roll with the punches. If you're a good lead and you stick through it long enough to actually become good at it, it is pretty cool. You get to whip out like some of the crazy moves, some of like the more interesting moves, like with Sensual. I've been trying to like find myself within that, but I also feel weird like even engaging in it, because I remember whenever I first started, I was like, I tried engaging in it and like I wouldn't get the connection, and I'm like, I'm never gonna try this in a social setting again. But like I would see everyone else around me doing like Bachata Sensual, and I was like, oh, why are they getting it and I'm not? Am I just bad? and like because of that, it kind of like prevented me from trying until like I found like 2 more moves, and I'm like, okay, now I know 2 moves. It's better than my bad like 1. So
You do the one and then you go back to
yeah. That was it. That was a little ramble.
No, I can relate. Like I'm a very much beginner leader, and I still cannot do sensual with other people because I just like I'm scared that I'm gonna do like weird things and make it so uncomfortable, and like so I just stick to like hands.
Yeah, it's so difficult to be confident as a lead doing sensual movements, because it's like the second you hesitate, it goes wrong, or the follow starts assuming things, and you're like, oh shoot, and you don't want to make the follow uncomfortable. Yeah, I get it. I also have the privilege of being able to just go back to following whenever I want to. But yeah, it's definitely disheartening, but I would say, like with learning sensual movements, definitely practice them with like a follow outside of a social setting before getting into the social setting. Like me and Mariana literally practiced yesterday so that I can have more movements for the socials whenever I go out to try to lead more, because I am trying to lead more. But yeah.
I want to add a quick do, and this should be on y'all's grocery list. Do get some gum. I have met some people that just have like bad breath. I'm always like super insecure about it, but I think it's a good insecurity because it makes me perform and get gum. Yeah. You guys are talking a lot. Mouth gets a little dry. Maybe your gut health isn't the best. Get some gum.
Get some gum. Oh, we haven't even talked about lead. Oh, there's so much.
Lead what?
Lead hygiene. Like, I mean,
I've never heard of this. Oh, I guess I have, but like other than like bad breath, what is there?
leads get super duper sweaty. So if you know that you get really sweaty, bring a couple change of shirts.
A lot of people do that, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
A lot of people bring like sweat towels. Try to like have showered beforehand so that you're not coming into it stinky. Yeah, just some basic things to like help the overall experience for both the lead and follow be more positive, because I have put my arm over like a completely wet back. So sweat towel, change of shirts, shower, gum, all the things just to help it out.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if there's much to add to that.
Okay, I've had the scenario where like my back's super sweaty and I feel like I don't sweat that much unless it's like really humid outside. So I never like really paid attention to it. Like in jiu-jitsu, I'm constantly like sweating on people and people are sweating on me. So like we don't ever think about that. But it's also like a bunch of dudes most of the time. So I've never heard of bringing an extra shirt, but yeah, I mean, like, I have, like, so many. Why wouldn't I just, like, bring one? I never, like, thought about it.
Yeah, most of the leads do that. They bring extra shirts.
Really?
Yeah.
Most?
Yeah.
Most?
Well, okay, most of the people that
say a
go
good
there, like,
amount.
very, very regularly. Like,
Yeah.
the serious dancers, they bring extra shirts.
Or, like, if they're staying there for a while.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're going to be there for an hour or two, maybe you won't get, like, all soaked. I mean, you have to be okay with a little bit of sweat in the end.
And it is okay to
Yeah.
be sweaty. Like, I'm just used to it at that point. By the end of it,
Yeah.
I'll just shower it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, hygiene was always, like, a thing that I've, like, always kind of wondered about, too. Like, it is weird. I always get, like, super insecure about, like, my hygiene. Like within these scenarios, I've like kind of thought about it, but sometimes don't think about it as much because like I'll have like weeks where I'm like, oh, my hygiene's like really good. I don't need to think about it too much. And I'll have weeks where I'm like, give me a piece of gum everywhere I go. So it's just kind of cool to know. Okay, so now let's go to the follows, do's and don'ts.
Okay.
I guess don't dance by yourself. Like, try to accept the suggestions, because that's also, I mean, you're social dancing in the end. Like, yeah, the lead shouldn't be forceful, but accept what he's doing and don't try to lead yourself into things that the lead's not doing, so that it's like a more enjoyable connection.
Yeah, definitely. Like, don't backlead, be sensitive to the suggestions that they are suggesting, or like the moves that they're suggesting, and then kind of let go of the control a bit. I know that can be difficult for a lot of people to let go of that control and allow somebody else to lead you. And it can be kind of scary too, but that is going to inevitably be important. To have a good dance and a good connection is to allow yourself to be led and accept those movements. So yeah, don't backlead. But that's also something that you learn with practice, what those signals are and how to respond to those signals. So lessons, practice, class, it's all gonna incorporate. I was also gonna add, don't be judgy of a lead,
Yeah, let's go.
don't
Let's go play for this one.
try to be like, I don't want to say like you
Unless
always
they're smelly.
I don't always say like you have to always look happy, but if like a lead is clearly new and they're learning, don't judge so fast about them not doing all the moves you want to do, or like if you're on a higher level, like it already takes so much courage for them to have asked you to dance in the first place. So have a little bit of compassion and patience with your lead and just try to enjoy the dance separate from whatever moves are happening, you know?
Don't be afraid to express yourself through dancing. Like, well, you can accept all these suggestions. You still have the freedom to add a little flair to the movements you do, or you know, when there's like musicality moments that you can add a little bit of like feet to it. Just maybe like I think it, as Cynthia said, like don't judge. I feel like everything should be a space where like everyone's trying to have fun and no one should be judging if you're like trying to add a little bit of spice to your dancing. So don't be afraid to have fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah, a little flair, a little styling. Like kind of going back to the leads open up the room for the follow to kind of make the dance their own as well, because it's fun to like kind of not take over but like give myself a little bit more room to be myself, a little bit independence to kind of dance and show off my own things as a follow. More follow do's. Ooh, do lean into that connection. So like the lead is trying to give you this connection on the back. Follows need to accept that connection and like lean into it with your back physically, to just connect more physically, because then it'll make the leading easier. Because if you have all this space in between the hand and the back, or like the arm and the lead's arm, then it's going to be difficult for you to feel those subtle movements, those leads, for you to be able to do them. So make it easier for the lead, make the dance more enjoyable by leaning into the connection.
Do look up. I mentioned this already, but it helps so much. Also with posture, and I need to do that. And I'm bad at this, but don't be afraid to like communicate your boundaries, either verbally or physically. If they're specific, you can communicate your boundaries beforehand. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Or you can like physically kind of like push yourself away. If the lead is trying to lead you into something more close and you don't feel like doing that, you can push yourself away and kind of reject that suggestion. And also something I'm bad at, but I want to advocate for it, that if the lead is actually making you uncomfortable, then don't be afraid to just walk away from the dance. Respectfully. Yeah, that's a really good.
Yeah, how would you, if you had like an ideal scenario where like you rejected someone, because rejection is kind of weird. It's like a weird feeling. You don't really know how to go about it. How would you want someone to be rejected within dance? Like, what are like some good, like, you've like been like, hey, I don't want this, or hey, I don't do this, and they reacted in like a good, appropriate manner?
To be honest, maybe this is not the best way, but the way I like avoid dancing with who maybe made me uncomfortable at some point, or yeah, who I just did not enjoy the dance for some reason, is that I say that I'm tired and I'm sitting this one out, or which might not be the best thing to do, but it definitely makes it less awkward, and I'm just like not this one. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I wanna ask on top of that, because you just said from the follower's perspective, What about from like the lead's perspective? What's like a good way that they've taken rejection? Like you like rejected someone, you're like, hey, too much. I don't like this certain move, or I don't like this. What is like a way that they've responded appropriately and not like in a bad way?
I'd say if the best way for me, because I'm really bad at confrontation, is that I am giving a subtle, or it doesn't have to be that subtle, but if I'm giving like a physical rejection to a move, that they accept that and they don't try to retry the move at a later point, or at that point they just accept that I no longer want to be in this close position, and we're going to move on and do other cool moves and still make the dance enjoyable without making the follow uncomfortable. I'd say that's the best way.
Okay, so what about like any physical or verbal cues? Because like there's been anything like for me, I've had times where I'm like trying to do something, and then someone's like, "Oh no, like I don't want to do this," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Let me know
Yeah.
if that's okay." Is there any of that you recommend, like saying I'm sorry, just like ignoring it? How like is it better to ignore it? Is it better to say sorry? Is it better to like stop the dance, go run to the corner? No, I'm sorry. What is like deemed an appropriate response that would make you feel less uncomfortable that the situation even happened?
If they did make me uncomfortable, like emotionally, physically, if they were too rough with me, if that has already happened, then yeah, like an apology would be acceptable, and then just moving on, not dwelling on it.
Yeah.
And then not, or them like correcting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't have much experience also like Cynthia at like verbally saying it, because most of the things I do, it's also like cues, or like it's
You
like
don't know that
evidence.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, or like I think they can sense when you're uncomfortable. So no.
Yeah.
I think guys are like really bad at that, and I think that's like why a lot of girls have like issues with like creepy dudes, because like a lot of them don't understand like social cues, and a lot of guys don't understand this. Like, I feel like I'm pretty like hyper aware of it, so I try like it's like the back of my mind. It's always like it's like in my mind it's like a girl's always gonna find you slightly creepy, and like this is like if you're just meeting them for the first time, and you have to understand their scenario and what will make you less of a creepy person. And so like a lot of like the failed moves and like the boundaries being placed, I think it's like more so a communication issue. Like it's someone putting hands where like they, or like hands, or like doing certain things that excuse me, that the other person doesn't feel comfortable with, and that inevitably leads to some like confrontation of like a boundary or something of the sort. What I always like wonder is like, should I ask like what I did wrong most of the time? Because like sometimes I'm just like flat out confused. I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? Or I'm like, oh, are they uncomfortable? Like I was having this conversation with one of my friends last time who was just learning salsa. I was dancing with her, and then like she kind of moved in a certain way, but she's also a new follow. So she was, I was like, oh, like maybe I don't do it. So I just like kind of like continue to dance like in open position. Didn't really like try to close it at all. And then after I was just like, hey dude, I saw you were like a little bit uncomfortable. Like, did I like, I know like the lat grab and like certain positions may be like a little bit foreign. I was like, but did that feel like uncomfortable to you, or like was it certain things? And she was like, oh no, I just don't know how to move. Because I'm like new to like following. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Because I'm like getting to understand a little bit more of her as a person, like that she's like new, and like it also establishes that I can retry that move, as opposed to like someone making that physical boundary but not like voicing anything. Like I don't know, is it the follow's duty to distinguish like confusion, or is it the leads, or is it both? I think it is like truthfully both, but like should both people take accountability to like make that clear, like instead of like brushing it off, saying, hey, this is what I'm not okay with.
I think you bring up a good point, and it's just it's just hard having conversations before, but that just made me think of like, yeah, like if you're a follower that maybe doesn't like, I mean, Cynthia touched on this earlier, you don't like closed position or bachata sensual, you can state it before, like, I don't like this, and then go on into the dance so that to avoid all these situations. And likewise, if you're a lead, you can always ask like, hey, are you okay with closed position? Or but I've had like leads ask that, and I appreciate it, and it's not awkward actually. Now that I think about it, it's not really. It's just like, hey, are you cool with this? Mm-hmm. And you're just like, yeah. And yeah, that's a really yeah.
I'd say, like, if the lead is confused about what that cue meant, then I think a verbal, like, asking, like, hey, did this make you uncomfortable or something? It's just difficult for, like, sometimes for the follower to, like, kind of stop a dance to be like, hey, stop doing that, or, like, you know. Mm-hmm. So normally it'll just be, like, a physical cue, and if, for me personally, this is how I feel, that if the lead wants to clarify that further for themselves to see if they can retry the move, then ask. But other than that, just take the cue.
Okay, I'm gonna what's it called? Clickbait this. It's gonna be called Perverts in Dance.
No.
and your like face of disgust is like gonna be like the clickbait.
We barely even talked about perverts in dance.
I'm just
that
kidding.
Could be a whole topic.
Oh yeah, I mean it is like a pretty interesting topic, but like I feel like those people are typically avoided. Like they kind of gain the reputation pretty fast. Yeah. I think that's like it with like perverts everywhere. Like if we're being honest.
Hopefully. Sometimes not always, but ideally, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a great point. Looks like my camera's about to overheat. So
oh wow.
Yeah, we're gonna close out the episode. If y'all want to plug in your Instagrams, I'll be inviting y'all as collaborators on the shorts whenever they're being posted. And I'd love to.
So excited.
Huh?
I'm so excited.
Yeah. It's super exciting to see. I'm excited to have y'all kind of have talked about this and like have shared some of your experiences, some of your insights from both perspectives, and I'm glad to have slightly challenged some of them, but like I feel like most of the time we were like in agreement, and I feel like I got a good understanding of the other side's perspective today. So yeah, just want to thank y'all.
Thank you. I learned some things too.
Yeah, I think this is a really good discussion. I feel like we talked about a lot of different elements in dance. I just want to plug, dance is really fun. You should definitely try it. Has improved my confidence so much. I've gained so many friends from just dancing. Honestly, like most of my friends at UT have been from dancing. And most of my friends in Austin have been from dance. It can be a great community if you lean into it, and it's really fun. Yeah. So like try it out.
Plug in the Instas.
My my Instagram handle is so cringe. It's at Cynthiology. I didn't come up with it. My roommate did.
Buddy. I like it.
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Mine is at Mariana R. Varela. Mariana R. Varela.
Okay, that's cool. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for coming. I really appreciate having y'all here and having this discussion. And yeah, hopefully we get to enjoy some time after.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.